Alright, to start your drawing, you're going to do 2 circles. These are for the shoulders. Some people start with the head, which is also going to be a circle with a rectangle on it. But I prefer to start with the shoulders. I don't know, I just feel like it's a lot easier. So feel free to start with the head if you feel like that's easier. So yeah, you can either do your head in the place you think would look good, or you can start with neck guidelines, which I chose to do here because I couldn't quite get the placement of the head right. Yeah, so give your neck some shape, kind of like an S shape, but curves down a little bit more, and then give a stomach outline. Use that bump in the stomach for a little bit of a ribcage effect. And then, yeah, so draw your head with the rectangle on it and resize if you need to. I felt like my body for my dragon was a little bit too big compared to the head, so that's what I'm doing here. You don't have to if you don't want to, though. And then next, I decided I'd add a layer. This is just to show you, or to show a little bit better for watching. You don't have to actually add layers if you don't want to. Yeah, so in red here is the legs, so they're kind of a curved shape with, in the back there's a line sticking out that's giving the joint effect. And then with the darker red, this actually turned out to be brown. I wish it was, more red, but, draw your second pair of legs to add dimension in the back. This stance is a little bit more wide. If you want a closer stance, like a less wide stance, just draw to where you can see less of the back legs. And then here, add a circle for the joint of the wing, and then draw a line back, and then another line forward, and then another line back, if that makes sense. I did that in green to be able to see it better. And then the tail, you can make whatever shape you wanted. So I was kind of just experimenting with shape ideas. So feel free to do that and experiment. Okay, so here's where we're going to be building the body. So notice how the outline that we did earlier is much lighter. I just took an eraser at low opacity and erased over it. And next you're gonna add another layer and kind of just fill in the look of that body, because nobody wants a stick figure dragon. So just kind of add structure. You can look at a reference picture if you want to. And then for the horns, you can either do a cartoony style or you can do a more realistic style. So if you're going for cartoony, you want them to be a little bit bigger and wider. But here I decided that I'm not that great at that style. Not that this is like a realistic drawing, but so yeah, I decided to make my horns a little bit smaller than I had them before because I didn't like the way they're looking. So mess around with horn shape, and once you're happy with that, you can move on. So notice how I have the rib cage, and it's very visible. And then next you're just going to give the legs some shape. You could just kind of follow along with what I'm doing. And then the talons are always hard for, were always hard for me before I looked at a reference sheet for them. So I will, post a picture of a reference sheet that I used, on the community page. But once you have your front talons, you can go in with the back ones. And because I'm doing a wide stance here, I'm not showing much of the talon. I'm showing more of the backside of that foot. And then go in with your tail. So probably already know, tail gets slimmer at the end and is thicker at the base. And then go in with your joint for the wing, and that's gonna be kind of more a ball shape, but don't add the top and the bottom of it. And follow your wing outline that's in the background. And you can either choose to make it a more realistic styled wing, so that would have like the claw at the tip, or you can just make it pointed and basic. Before adding the leathery part of the wing, I'm adding another piece of bone structure, but feel free to skip that part if you feel like that would suit your art better. Alright, so now you can go in, lighten up that basic, like, rough sketch, and on a new layer, just start outlining your, rough sketch. This might take a couple of tries to get it right because, like, your rough sketch isn't going to be perfect. So feel free to take as long as you want on this. I definitely took a while to do it. That's why it's going so much faster than all the other clips. But, and then after this, we're going to go through with shadows, and I will talk you through that when we get there. Now that you've got the final outline, you can start adding details. So, I'm starting with an eye here. I try to go for an almond shape usually. It tends to work out pretty well usually. And then go in with your mouth. Notice how I erased part of it before adding, because if you just have a dragon with a mouth that lines up perfectly all the way through, it doesn't quite look natural. And then just experiment with your eye. Remember, eyes give a lot to the expression of your dragon. So like here, I decided that I would try to make it work, but this eye just looked a little bit too, like prankster of this dragon, and she's supposed to be more sweet. So I got this eye, and I really liked it, but I kept trying to do that like back look, and it wouldn't work. And then, yeah, make sure your line for the iris is never too big, because that can make it look interesting. I was trying for that like crosshatch thing for the shadows, and I decided not to. And then here I'm going through with the underbelly line, and then I'm adding some like fur. I'm going to add some fur on the background after I do the ear. Not the background, on the neck. And you can do whatever you want. You don't even have to have something along the back. I just feel like it adds a lot to your drawing. And then go through with your underbelly lines. That also adds a lot. And then on a new layer, you can take a black, but then turn down the opacity a lot and go through with your shadows. So you're welcome to use where I place my shadows as a reference. Another great reference for shadows, go to Pixel Brush Creations channel, and she has amazing light placement, and the way she does her shadows is incredible. So you can use her for reference too. And I don't know, just think of, here I don't really have a light source, but if you have a light source, think of where that light is coming from. And remember that the shadows are cast like away from the light. So if my light was coming from the right-hand corner on the top, my shadows would be cast on the bottom left-hand corner, if that makes sense. So, yeah, so go through, add your shadows where you want them. And if you feel like the shadows are a little bit too difficult for you, that's all right. You can either practice, which always helps, or you can just not add shadows to your drawing at all. You can color it if you want, but I feel like shadows really help to pull your drawing together. Now with a few touch-ups to those shadows and maybe coloring if you'd like to, you now have the drawing of a full-body dragon. I really hope this tutorial helped you to, draw an amazing piece, and please tag me in any art that you've made off of this tutorial. See you later!